Hello children, hope you all are keeping well. This lockdown has not locked each one of us at our places. Somewhere we have found the innovative ways to learn and outshine in this critical condition as well. So today we are going to start with our chapter number 4 of geography, that is climate, which you can see on the screen. In the last two chapters, we have studied somewhere about the landmarks, the landforms, as well as the drainage system in India. And now we'll be moving in detail with climate and its various phenomena which will be briefed into you. Starting ahead with the chapter, somewhere children, we need to understand whenever we address in chapter called climate or a term called climate, basically, there are people who misinterpret and get confused with two different terms, that is climate and weather. So today we'll be knowing in detail about what has to be addressed to climate and when do you have to use in weather. Along with that, there are certain objectives which you people must know at the end of this session. What all will you be able to understand and interpret? So as you can read on the screen, this particular session will get you familiarized with the terms, key concepts, and the basic principles which are associated with the climate of India. Then you'll be able to provide the idea about the mechanism of Indian monsoon. When we talk about mechanism, there are typical terms which we as individuals must know because we all are learners, and those will be briefed into you through this session. Then you will be able to study the climate of India through the understanding and analysis of local climate. Normally, whenever you wake up early in the morning, some days you feel like, being there in your cold sheets. And then sometimes you don't even feel like waking up or leaving your bed just because it's too cold. So understanding a local climate will help you out to know and understand the concept of climate in India in a better way. Then you'll be able to explore the causative factor of the spatial variations in the climate of the country. That is our own country. And at the end, we have two different terms where two different points which will be helping you to understand and analyze the variation of climatic phenomenon in the cycle of seasons. When we talk about seasons, we normally address seasons as summer, winter, rainy, and sometimes autumn. Those seasons will be discussed in and how and when do they occur, what brings in the change in the season, those all ideas will be discussed. And at the end, you will be aware about the change in climate, that is global warming at local level, so as to understand it at national and global level. Children, the way we say that a drop of water can save life, same is with us. Our single initiative can bring in the change in the global warming, what is moving up on a higher tone. That's all Almighty's grace that we people are locked at our places somewhere. Nature has started healing. But once we people move out, we must understand that this healing must continue and the nature should have its own pace to grow and develop. So, moving ahead, this particular session will be briefing you about certain key points which are already there on the screen. These are some of the main topics that we will be studying, where you will have the meaning of climate, you will study about the climatic controls, which are 6 factors. Then you will have factors which affect the climate of India, which includes latitude, altitude, pressure and winds. Then you will study about Indian monsoon, arrival and withdrawal of monsoon, seasons. Then you have different seasons which are referred as hot weather season, which is popularly called as summer, cold weather season, which is popularly known as winter, advancing monsoon, which is rainy, retreating or post monsoon season, that is transition season. Even people refer it up as autumn or spring. Distribution of rainfall, and at the end, we will study how monsoon serves as a unifying bond. I hope, children, this introduction with the basic ideas has been fruitful enough for you to know and understand what are we going to study today. Let's start with the chapter. So the chapter has got the basic introduction to the right hand side of your screen, you can check the Indian map, which talks about oceans, regions, different platforms, different landforms, which are there on the screen. So, India is globally known for its diversity in culture as well as climates. It experiences a spectrum of seasons, including chilly winters and hot summers. The syllabus of Social 9 Studies of Class 9 comprises of a detailed chapter on this topic named climate. Chapter 4 on climate will help you to understand various geographical reasons that lead to variations in climates and the atmospheric conditions in India. So this is just the basic intro which is there in the chapter, and we must understand whenever it is June, July approaching, we people start getting our raincoats out. Whenever it is April, May, rather I should speak about March, we people get our cotton clothes out. Whenever it is October, November, we get our woolen clothes out. So there's a reason why do we have change in our own wearing system, wearing pattern. That's all because of the change in the season. That's all because of change in the climatic conditions. Let us now understand what is climate, and here we will be able to understand what actually the basic difference between the two terms climate and weather is. Moving ahead, weather conditions over a large area and its variation for an extended time period, minimum 30 years, is known as climate, wherein weather is the state of the atmosphere over an area at any point in time. It changes every moment. So whenever you talk about daily change in the atmosphere, that has to be referred to weather. Today's weather is too hot. It's not today's climatic condition is too hot. Climatic condition refers to a larger duration of a time, which is minimum for 30 years, wherein when we talk about weather, weather changes in every single moment. So please remember, henceforth, whenever we will be talking about the condition of the day with regards to the atmosphere, it has to be referred to weather. Wherein if you talk about Maharashtra, normally Maharashtra experiences moderate climate, can be stated for. Now, children, it's must for you to know and understand that weather and climate, though, are slightly different because weather speaks about change on daily basis, change at every moment, wherein climate is a long-term based idea, but the elements of weather and climate are one and the same. As you can read on the screen, that's temperature, atmospheric pressure, then you have wind, humidity and precipitation. You have observed that the weather conditions fluctuate very often within a day, but there is some common factor over a few weeks or months. That is, sometimes you may find days are longer, nights are shorter, days are cooler, nights are warmer. So, this change refers to the elements of climate and weather, and that's what we will be studying in detail today, where we will get to know about in which category, what kind of weather condition, climatic condition, sorry, we fall back to. So, climate of India is referred as monsoon. India experiences monsoon. Please note, monsoon is a term which is derived from Arabic word mosin, which means season. Mosam is an Arabic term, is a word which is derived from Arabic term mosin, and it means seasons. Monsoon refers to the seasonal reversal of wind direction during the year, and that's how Asia experiences major of seasonal changes, wherein India is the finest example which stands in over there. So the climate of India is described as monsoon. The image, the map on the screen speaks about the same. Now let us understand what are the climatic controls. When we talk about climatic controls, we have seen elements of weather and climate which affects the change. Now we need to understand what actually controls the climatic conditions. So there are 6 permanent factors that control the climates of all the places as stated in the chapter on climate class 9. So the topics, the factors which are highlighted are latitude, altitude, pressure and wind system, distance from sea, ocean currents, and relief features, which we have already seen in the past years, but then briefing you about latitude, that is due to the curvature of the earth, the amount of solar energy received by various region is different according to the latitude. Latitudes are the horizontal lines. Altitude, that is the temperature and the density are lesser at higher altitudes. The more you move up, the lesser you find the density and the temperature. So that's what altitude, that's how altitude goes down for controlling the climate. Moving ahead with pressure and wind system, the altitude and latitude affect the pressure and wind system, and it causes changes in rainfall pattern and temperature. Fourth climatic control is the distance from sea, which talks about the regions that are far from sea experience extreme weather conditions. There's a very high temperature in summers and very low in winters. Now this refers to specifically to the places which are at distance from sea. Moving ahead with ocean currents, if the ocean current over a coastal area is warm, the area will experience warmth. And the last climatic control is the relief feature. They have significant role in determining the climate of a place. High mountains get in the path of winds and do not allow them to cross. If there are rain-bearing winds, they might cause precipitation leading to rain and snow. So just to revise, the 6 climatic controls, the 6 factors for climatic controls are latitudes, altitudes, pressure and wind system, distance from sea, ocean currents, and the relief features. Factors that affect the climatic conditions or the climate of India. We have seen controls, we have seen elements. We are now moving ahead with the factors that affect the climate of India. Those are latitudes, altitudes, and pressure and winds. Just to revise, children, pressure and winds are again connected with altitude and latitude because they cause the change in the rainfall pattern and temperature. So the 3 factors that affect the Indian climate are latitude, altitude, and pressure and winds. Moving ahead, as we know that climate can be called constant weather condition of an area, there are various factors which affect it. Now, this chapter of class 9 climate will be briefing you more in detail or will be elucidating the 3 areas, that is of latitude, altitude, and pressure winds, where we will get to know how things do affect it. Please see factors affecting climate related to location and related to air, pressure, and wind are being bifurcated with the help of a tree diagram. This is just to help you out to know and understand that these are different factors which then are being considered as well. So with regards to location, if we see, we have got altitude, we have got latitude, relief features when we talk about mountains which can bear in the winds, distance from sea, Himalayan mountains, and distribution of land and water. Wherein the second category with factors affecting climate refers to air pressure and wind, where you have surface pressure and surface winds, upper air circulation, and western cyclones. Let us now see in detail what are the factors that affect the climate of India. The first factor which we have seen was latitude. So the Tropic of Cancer crosses middle of India, which begins from Run of Kutch in the west and runs till Mizoram in the east. The states located at the south of the Tropic of Cancer represent tropical climates, whereas those in the north have subtropical conditions. Hence, India has both tropical and subtropical climate. It is very, very important for you to note that India is not just experiencing tropical climate. India experiences both type of climate, that is tropical as well as the subtropical climate. So this was all about the first factor affecting the climate of India. Moving ahead with the next, that is altitude. There are mountains in north of India. The Himalayas act as barriers against the cold winds from Central Asia. This causes milder winds in India than in Central Asia. We all know the northern section of our country is all flourished and picturesque with the mountainous region, and somehow that stands as a barrier for the cold winds, against the cold winds. And that's how the northern section of India is little cooler as compared to the southern or the other parts. That's how it is talking about altitude. Again, if you see, the more upper you move on from the surface on a height, that refers to the altitude, which is there clearly being given in the picture. Moving ahead with the third factor that affects the climate of India is pressure and wind. Now in this, as we have discussed with the help of a tree diagram, we have got three atmospheric conditions that governs the climate in India. That is pressure and surface winds, upper air circulation, and western cyclonic disturbances. Children, please note, India lies in the region of northeasterly surface winds. During winters, the subtropical high pressure belts of the northern hemisphere leads to the origin of northeastern winds. The wind blow in the southern direction and get deflected to the right. In winters, high pressure areas develop over the north of Himalayas. Hence, cold, dry winds blow from the Himalayas towards the low pressure areas over the oceans in the south. So when we talk about flow of cold winds, we have got cold winds or the dry winds flowing from north to south. However, in summers, a low pressure area develops over northwestern India. Therefore, the wind direction is reversed. Now, the winds move from the high pressure area over the Indian Ocean to cross the equator and then turn right to reach to the low pressure areas. Since these winds move over the warm oceans, they carry a large amount of moisture, leading to widespread rainfall. This was all about factors affecting climate of India. I hope children we have understood this. We will be moving in detail with three different areas which are very, very important with regards to MCQs, which then can be asked as normally your teachers keep on asking you to refer the book in detail, to go through the book in detail so as to know the areas which can be asked with reading between the lines. So there are three do you know kind of areas or find out kind of areas if you people see into the text, which talks about Coriolis Force, jet streams, and western cyclonic disturbances. So talking about Coriolis Force, the picture itself is making it little clear for you. If you look this side, this gives you the brief idea about what actually Coriolis Force is. So an apparent force caused by the Earth's rotation is known as Coriolis Force. This force is responsible for deflecting winds towards the right in the northern hemisphere and towards left in the southern hemisphere. You can check it out with those red and purple arrows. Red is moving on to the right direction, wherein left if you see it is moving, southern if you see it is moving on to the left direction. This is also known as Farrell's law. Coriolis force, when we talk about, please remember Farrell's law and Coriolis force are two connected terms. Coriolis force, when happens or occurs on the surface of the earth, that then is referred as Farrell's law. What are the effects of this Coriolis force? Now let us check it out, which are there 5 in number. First one is because Earth does rotate, atmospheric circulation patterns are much more complex. Second is causes any moving body to turn to right, that is clockwise in northern hemisphere, to left, counterclockwise in southern hemisphere. Effect is almost zero at equator and increases more towards poles. Think of how figure skaters spin. Please, children, note it down. Southern and northern hemisphere, they are briefing in that it turns to right and it turns to left. But when it comes to equator, there are hardly any changes in this. But if you move to the extreme poles in the southern and the northern, you will have to imagine the situation of these forces the way skater spins at a speed. Coriolis effect occurs because Earth rotates out from under moving body. Instead of one giant convection cell per hemisphere, there are three circulation cells due to Coriolis effect. This was all about Coriolis force. In short, if we have to remember what is Coriolis force, that is the apparent force which is caused due to the movement of Earth's rotation is known as Coriolis force, and this movement is then further being referred as Farrell's law. The second important idea which we have to study in the factors affecting the climate of India are jet streams. Jet streams are a narrow belt of high altitude, which are about 12,000 meters, westerly winds in the troposphere. Their speed varies from about 110 kilometers per hour in summer to about 184 kilometers per hour in winter. A number of separate jet streams have been identified. The most constant are the mid-latitude and the subtropical jet streams. As you can see, jet streams, subtropical jet streams are semi-permanent jet that exist over the subtropics. It is mainly a wintertime phenomenon due to the weak summertime temperature gradient. The subtropical jet is relatively weak during the summer. Now, if you look at that globe, it shows you the red and the blue line. Polar jet streams are to the polar region, wherein subtropical streams, jet streams are just below it, which are there being reflected with red line. So these are just the streams which are narrow belt of high altitude of about 12,000 meters. The last topic in factors affecting climate is Western cyclonic disturbances. When we talk about cyclonic disturbances, cyclone we all know. But then what are these cyclonic disturbances? These are the weather phenomena of the winter months brought in by the westerly flow from the Mediterranean region. They usually influence the weather of the north and northwestern regions of India. Tropical cyclones occur during the monsoon as well as in October and November and are part of the easterly flow. These disturbances affect the coastal region of India. Thus, very often the coast of Orissa and Andhra Pradesh are affected by those disasters. When we talk about disasters, disasters are all in the form of heavy rain which turns the rain into the curse for people. People normally keep on waiting for rain so that they can have good crop, but then when this disturbance is caused, it turns the rain into a curse where people have to struggle hard with their own life. As in the form of cyclones, it comes up, then it reaches over there with floods, which affects the life of people. I hope this has helped you out to understand what the chapter is all about. We will further be moving into detail with the remaining part of the chapter.